General, your son left this for you before he died. The young soldier's words hit Marcus Steele like a sniper's bullet. After 20 years of silence, after 2 decades of believing his son died a hero in Afghanistan, this envelope would shatter everything he thought he knew about that final mission. Opening hook, General, your son left this for you before he died. The young soldier's words hit Marcus Steele like a sniper's bullet. After 20 years of silence, after 2 decades of believing his son died a hero in Afghanistan, this envelope would shatter everything he thought he knew about that final mission. Chapter 1, 1,000 words. Time had stopped for General Marcus Steele on April 23, 2003. That day, a call from the Department of Defense had informed him that his son, Lieutenant James Steele, had died heroically under enemy fire in Afghanistan. For 20 years, Marcus had blamed himself. Maybe if he hadn't pushed his son into a military career, maybe if he had protected him more, maybe. But no maybe could bring James back. That's why the doorbell ringing at 11:47 p.m. surprised him. No one visited him anymore. He lived alone in his modest home in Colorado Springs, trying to get by on his retirement pension. When he opened the door, a young soldier in dress uniform stood before him. His rank showed Staff Sergeant Johnson. General Steele? I'm Staff Sergeant Michael Johnson. I need to speak with you. The soldier's voice was tense, as if he knew he was about to say something very important but equally dangerous. Marcus opened the door fully. Come in, son. Johnson entered the living room but didn't sit. He held a small envelope in his hand, yellow paper with worn edges. General, I know this won't be easy, but there are things I need to tell you about your son Lieutenant Steele's final mission. Marcus's breathing became shallow. James's mission is classified. There's nothing that can be told to me. Sir, this is different. Johnson extended the envelope. Your son left this for you before he died. When Marcus took the envelope, his hands trembled. His own name was written on it in James's handwriting. For my father, open when you learn everything. The date, April 25, 2003. 2 days after James had died. How is this possible? Marcus's voice had dropped to a whisper. Johnson took a deep breath. General, what they told you about your son's death. It wasn't entirely true. James really did die, but the day, place, and manner of his death were very different from what you know. Marcus pressed the envelope against his chest. What do you mean? Your son didn't die as a hero, General. He died as a whistleblower. And those who killed him weren't the Taliban. The room began to spin. Marcus collapsed onto the couch, still clutching the envelope. You? What are you saying? Johnson moved closer, his voice dropping even lower. General, your son had discovered the true purpose of Operation Shadow Lion. This operation wasn't targeting the Taliban. It was hitting civilian targets. Villages. Innocent people. Marcus shook his head. No, that's not possible. James was a patriot. He believed in the army. Yes, sir, that's exactly why he couldn't accept it when he learned the truth. Johnson pulled a small voice recorder from his pocket. Your son had recorded everything. Conversations, orders, planning meetings. And he was preparing to report it all to Washington. Marcus's face had gone pale. Who was he going to report? The officers running the operation. Commander Williams, Colonel Henderson, and... Johnson hesitated. And who? General Richardson. Your former commander. Marcus's mind went blank. Richardson was his closest friend, James's godfather. They had fought together in Vietnam, been promoted together. Richardson had cried at James's funeral. Richardson? Marcus's voice was hoarse. Johnson nodded. According to James's recordings, General Richardson was the operation's chief planner. He was having civilian settlements targeted, then reporting them as Taliban attacks. The goal was to clear the native population from the region and seize strategic points. Marcus wanted to open the envelope, but his hands were shaking too much. Why didn't James tell me anything? He tried to, sir. Do you remember in your last conversation he told you that some things weren't what they seemed? Marcus remembered. James's last phone call. His son had spoken strangely, as if he wanted to say something but couldn't find the courage. Marcus had warned him to focus on his mission. I didn't listen to him, Marcus whispered. Your son was trying to protect you, General. If he had told you the truth, you would have become a target too. Because Richardson trusted you. James knew that. Marcus finally opened the envelope. Inside were 2 handwritten pages and a small SD card. Dad, the letter began, if you're reading this, it means I found the courage and was able to do the right thing. Johnson is how this letter reached you. He's trustworthy. The SD card has everything, voice recordings, documents, photographs. Evidence of Richardson and his team attacking civilian villages. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. James? James knew this. He knew he was going to die. Johnson nodded. Yes, sir. Read the last paragraph. With trembling hands, Marcus turned the page. Dad, tomorrow morning I'm sending this evidence to Washington. If something happens to me, I've arranged for Johnson to bring everything to you. This took 20 years because Johnson needed to find me and safely reach you. During the years when Richardson still had influence, this wasn't possible. But now he's retired and so are you. Now you're safe. Forgive me, Dad. I always loved you. The room fell silent. Marcus pressed the letter against his chest and cried quietly. For 20 years he had blamed himself for his son's death, but actually James had died trying to do the right thing. Johnson waited respectfully, then spoke. General, your son asks something of you. Marcus looked up. What? To get this evidence to the right place. James knew you still had connections with respected people in the Pentagon. They won't ignore your voice, they won't suspect you. Marcus stood up. His eyes were no longer those of a grieving father, but of a general. Johnson, what's on this SD card? Everything, sir. Phone recordings, meeting footage, death lists, false reports. The names of Richardson's accomplices. And most importantly, the full text of James's final report before he died. Marcus set the envelope on the table. After 20 years, his son was giving him one final mission. And this time, he wouldn't disappoint him. The next morning, Marcus Steele couldn't believe he was on his way to the Pentagon. He carried a small bag, inside were the SD card, James's letter, and additional files Johnson had given him. For the first time in 20 years, he had a purpose. When he arrived in Washington, his first stop was the Department of Justice's Military Crimes Unit. He had arranged a meeting with Unit Chief Sarah Martinez. Martinez was young but experienced, specializing in military corruption cases. General Steele, these allegations are very serious, Martinez said after examining the SD card. If these are true, this isn't just an incident limited to a few officers. This is systematic war crimes. Marcus was looking out the window at the Washington Monument. Ms. Martinez, my son was killed while gathering this evidence. This isn't just war crimes, it's also murder. Martinez spread the files across the table. General Richardson still sits on the boards of defense contracting companies. He has influence. Opening this case won't be easy. I don't expect it to be easy, Marcus said. But I expect it to be right. Martinez nodded. The first step is presenting this evidence to the FBI's War Crimes Unit. They'll initiate the investigation. But General, this process could be dangerous for you too. Richardson still has powerful connections. Marcus looked at Johnson. The young soldier was waiting patiently. Johnson, why did you take this risk? Why did you wait 20 years? Johnson straightened. Sir, Lieutenant Steele had saved my life. The night Richardson's men attacked the village, I was there too. James warned me, told me to hide. If it weren't for him, I would have died too. You were there? Marcus's voice hardened. Yes, sir. At the Kalka village raid. James recorded a video for me, told me to give it to you. Johnson pulled out a small USB. But these are very difficult images, General. Martinez plugged the USB into the computer. James's face appeared on the screen. He was wearing military uniform but looked tired and worried. Dad, James said to the camera, if you're watching this, it means everything I planned has come to pass. Today is April 24th. Tomorrow we'll attack Kalka village on Richardson's orders. But this attack won't be against the Taliban, it'll be against civilians. According to Richardson's plan, we'll clear all the villages in the region and seize strategic points. The video continued. Behind James, the inside of the tent was visible, maps hanging on the walls. 150 innocent people live in that village, Dad. Children, elderly, women. And tomorrow morning we'll kill them, then report it as a Taliban attack. I can't allow this. Marcus's eyes had filled with tears. On screen, his son continued speaking. Tonight I'm sending the evidence to Washington. I trust Johnson, he's on our side too. If something happens to me, he'll reach you. Dad, I tried to be a source of pride for you. I hope by doing the right thing, I'll be a source of pride too. The video ended. The room was silent. Martinez was the first to speak. General, did your son send the evidence? Johnson answered, no ma'am. He couldn't. That night he was killed by Richardson's men. Marcus leaned forward. How? While Lieutenant Steele was preparing the evidence in his tent, Sergeant Miller and Specialist Davis, two of Richardson's trusted men, came. James trusted them. They were supposed to be in the operation too. But Richardson had sent them to stop James. Johnson paused, the memory was painful. Miller told James to delete the evidence. When James refused, Davis shot him. Single gunshot. Then they staged the body to look like he was killed during the village raid. Marcus jumped to his feet. Did you see this? Yes, sir. James had me waiting next to his tent. I heard everything. After Miller and Davis left, I went inside. James was still breathing. He gave me the SD card and told me your address. Take it to my father, he said. Then he died. Martinez was taking notes. Where are this Miller and Davis now? Miller died of a heart attack 3 years ago, Johnson said. But Davis is still alive. He retired, now lives in Nevada. Marcus slammed his fist on the table. We need to talk to Davis. General, this is FBI business now, Martinez said. But I can tell you this, with this evidence, we can take Richardson to court, put him in prison. Marcus turned to the window. Where is Richardson now? Johnson answered, he lives in Virginia. Has a farm. Gets consulting fees from defense companies. Then we're going, Marcus said. Martinez stood up. General, I advise you not to approach Richardson until the FBI starts the investigation. I've waited 20 years, Marcus said. I want to look Richardson in the face and hear why he killed my son. Johnson looked worried. General, this could be dangerous. Marcus put the SD card in his pocket. Johnson, you don't have to come. You've already given enough. No, sir, Johnson said with determination. I made a promise to Lieutenant Steele. I'll be with you to the end. Martinez gathered the files. Then let's notify the FBI. At least they'll be prepared. Marcus nodded. Agreed. But first I'm talking to Richardson. That man cried at James's funeral. He looked me in the eye and said, your son died a hero. Now I want to hear why he lied. Richardson's farm was in rural Virginia, 2 hours from Washington. Marcus and Johnson sat silently in the car, both feeling the weight of the approaching confrontation. In the past 20 years, Marcus had seen Richardson a few times, at retirement ceremonies, at veteran meetings. Each time Richardson would mention James, talking about what a brave soldier he was, the farmhouse was large and impressive. Classic Southern architecture with white columns. As Marcus got out of the car, he thought about how this place was paid for with James's blood. Richardson himself opened the door. He was 68, his hair had gone white but his posture was still military. When he saw Marcus, his face lit up. Marcus. What a surprise. Richardson extended his hand. Come in, let me make coffee. Marcus didn't shake his hand. Bill, we need to talk. Richardson's smile faltered. He noticed Johnson. Who is this? Staff Sergeant Johnson, Marcus said. From James's final mission. Richardson's face changed. The smile disappeared, replaced by a cautious expression. Marcus, I don't know what you're talking about but, Calca Village, Marcus said harshly. April 25, 2003. Richardson froze. Seconds passed, then he stepped back. Come inside. But you'll regret coming here for this conversation. They went into the living room. Richardson poured himself a glass of whiskey and drank it. What do you want? Marcus put the SD card on the table. I want the real story of my son. When Richardson saw the card, his face went pale. This? Where did this come from? From James, Johnson said. He gave it to me the night before your men killed him. Richardson sat on the edge of his couch. You don't understand anything. Then explain, Marcus said. Why did you kill my son? Richardson buried his head in his hands. Marcus, everything was different back then. After September 11th, we were given authority to do whatever was necessary. Whatever it took to stop the Taliban. Not bombing innocent civilian villages, Marcus said. Those villages weren't innocent. Richardson jumped to his feet. They were giving logistical support to the Taliban. They were hiding weapons. They were harboring militants. Johnson leaned forward. That's a lie. There were children and elderly in that village. There were no weapons. Richardson looked at him. What do you think you saw? You were just a sergeant. I was the man James trusted, Johnson said calmly. And I saw everything that night. Marcus intervened. Bill, why was James trying to stop you? Richardson sipped his whiskey again. Because he was an idealistic kid. He didn't understand the realities of war. Are the realities of war killing innocent people? Marcus, you never commanded in a war zone. I did. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions. Marcus stood up, approaching Richardson. James was my son. The child you baptized. How could you kill him? Richardson's eyes watered. I didn't kill him. You gave orders to Miller and Davis. I only told them to stop him. To destroy the evidence. I didn't tell them to kill him. Johnson jumped to his feet. Lie. I heard Miller tell James, this comes from Richardson. He said, the general told me to finish you. Richardson threw his glass to the floor. Davis lost control that night. I only wanted James silenced. For 20 years you looked me in the eye, Marcus said in a trembling voice. You spoke at James's funeral. You said he was a hero. He was a hero, Richardson shouted. He just chose the wrong side. The room fell silent. Richardson's words hung in the air. Marcus spoke slowly. Wrong side? Trying to protect innocent people is the wrong side. Richardson shook his head. Marcus, you don't see the big picture. Because of that operation, we cleared that region. The Taliban retreated. The strategy worked. How many innocent people died? There are civilian casualties in war. How many, Bill? Richardson remained silent. Johnson answered, 147 civilians. 62 of them were children. Marcus looked at Richardson. 147 people. And you're telling me you didn't plan any of this? Richardson collapsed onto his couch. These numbers. They're just numbers. The real salvation was for a greater purpose. Was James's death also for a greater purpose? Richardson looked up. James was a threat. If he had exposed the operation, not just my career but the entire chain of command would have ended. So you killed him. I tried to protect him. If he had just stayed quiet, nothing would have happened. His career would have continued. You would have been proud. Marcus moved close to Richardson. I was already proud. He was trying to do the right thing. The right thing? Richardson laughed bitterly. Marcus, you still don't understand. In this world, there's no such thing as right and wrong. There are only winners and losers. Then you lost, Marcus said. Because James's truth is going to come out now. Richardson stood up. What do you think is on that SD card? 20-year-old voice recordings? The court won't accept them. Johnson smiled. Not just voice recordings. James documented everything. Your written orders, meeting notes, payment records. Even Davis's confession. Richardson froze. Davis's confession? The FBI talked to him yesterday, Marcus said. He told them everything. How you killed James, how you staged the scene. Davis is old and sick now. He wants to clear his conscience before he dies. Richardson's legs trembled. He sat on the couch. This isn't possible. Marcus picked up the SD card. Bill, for 20 years I lived with James's death. Every night I thought about his final moments. Whether he was scared, whether he called for me. Now I learned that in his final moments he was trying to do the right thing. And you killed him for it. Richardson buried his head in his hands. Marcus, you what, Bill? I'm sorry. Marcus headed for the door. Your regret won't bring my son back. But justice can honor him. 6 months later, Marcus Steele sat in the front row of federal court. For the first time in 20 years, there was peace within him. His son's name would be cleared. When the judge announced Richardson's sentence, there was a deep silence in the courtroom. Mr. Richardson, for war crimes, conspiracy to commit murder, and obstruction of justice, I sentence you to 25 years in prison. As Richardson was led from the courtroom in handcuffs, he looked at Marcus. In his eyes was no longer the arrogant general, just an old, broken man. After court, Marcus and Johnson stood in front of the courthouse building. Johnson had now removed his dress uniform and was wearing civilian clothes. General, what will you do now? Marcus looked at the sky. I'm going to visit James's grave. Tell him everything is over. Can I come too? Marcus smiled. It was the first real smile in 20 years. Of course. He found justice because of you. When they went to Arlington National Cemetery, the sun was setting. James's headstone was simple. Lieutenant James Steele served his country and truth. Marcus knelt in front of the headstone. James, my son. Now everyone knows you were the real hero. Johnson waited respectfully in the back. Marcus continued, I'm sorry, son. I should have listened to you better. But now your struggle wasn't in vain. Richardson is in prison. Others who think like him are under investigation too. The wind blew gently through the cemetery. Johnson is here with me. You trusted the right person. He waited 20 years but kept his promise. Marcus stood up, pulling a small medal from his pocket. It was the Medal of Valor from his own military career. This should be yours, he said and placed the medal next to the headstone. Johnson approached. General, may I say something? Marcus nodded. Lieutenant Steele told me one more thing that last night. Tell my father I tried to make him proud. I'm telling you, he would be proud of you. Marcus wiped his eyes. Thank you, Johnson. Without you, I just did the right thing, sir. Just like James did. As they left the cemetery, Marcus's phone rang. FBI agent Martinez was calling. General Steele? I have good news for you. Thanks to Richardson's confession, we've also caught the other accomplices in Operation Shadow Lion. Colonel Henderson and 4 senior officers have been arrested. Marcus took a deep breath. Justice finds its place, even if late. Yes, sir. And there's one more thing. The Pentagon is giving your son the Medal of Honor posthumously. The ceremony is next month. Marcus's voice trembled. James? James will receive the Medal of Honor? Yes, sir. As the highest example of courage and honesty. After hanging up, Marcus turned to Johnson. James is getting the Medal of Honor. Johnson smiled. He finally got what he deserved. Driving back in the car, Marcus thought quietly. For 20 years he had tried to understand his son's death. Now he understood that James's death wasn't an end, but a beginning. The beginning of the struggle for truth and justice. Johnson, Marcus said, what will you do after this? Johnson thought. I don't know, sir. Maybe I'll study law. Maybe work in military justice. Good idea. There will be more cases like this. We need honest people like you. I learned from Lieutenant Steele, sir. The right thing isn't always the easy thing. Marcus nodded. That was the most valuable lesson James taught you. When they got home, Marcus did something he hadn't done in a long time. He took out James's photographs. Graduation photos from the military academy, family vacations, photos from his last leave. Looking at each photo, he remembered his son's smile. James was always a child who tried to do the right thing. Even as a small child, he couldn't tolerate injustice. That night Marcus slept peacefully for the first time in a long time. In his dream, he saw James. His son was wearing his uniform, his medals shining. Dad, James said in the dream, now you can be proud. I was always proud, son, Marcus said. Now everyone just knows it. When Marcus woke up, it was morning. For the first time in 20 years, he started the day with hope. James's struggle was over. Justice had been served. And people like Richardson now knew that being powerful didn't save them from accountability. He called Johnson. Johnson, we're going to the Pentagon today. We're clearing James's file. Yes, sir. I'm ready. Marcus hung up and looked out the window. The sun was shining. James had found his justice. And his legacy, fighting for truth, would continue to live because some wars last for years. But in the end, truth always wins.